On the issue of Campbell's and its announcement for support of mandatory GMO labeling, I've got some additional comments to share with you here. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, healthrangerreport.com. I'm one of the leading clean food activists in the world, and I think I'm the only one that owns a private science laboratory, and we've just expanded it in a huge way. I'll be showing pictures and videos of that soon. We've added an organic chemistry section with instrumentation for liquid chromatography and time-of-flight mass spectrometry. That's on top of the ion chromatography and the ICP-MS, the inductively coupled plasma mass spectrometry that we've been running for heavy metals for 2 years now. So we have the ability to detect organic molecules in food, including food contaminants such as benzenes, parabens, BPA, but also pesticides and herbicides, including atrazine, glyphosate, 2,4-D, all these other things. And, Campbell's, in making this decision, is really getting out in front of this issue in a huge way. I think Campbell's is very smart to do this, and I want to congratulate their CEO, Denise Morrison, for making this very courageous decision, probably a difficult decision. No doubt there's a lot of arm twisting going on behind the scenes to try to get her to reverse this position, because the food industry doesn't want a company like Campbell's to come out and say we support label transparency on GMOs. Because it makes all the other companies look bad, the companies that want to cover this up, that want to keep consumers in the dark and keep everybody ignorant about what they're really eating. They don't want a leader like Campbell's to come out and say, no, we actually think consumers have the right to know what they're eating. That's the last thing. That's the last thing that the factory foods industry wants to happen. God forbid if consumers knew what they were eating, holy cow, they wouldn't buy our junk. That's the way they're really thinking. And I'm talking about like Kellogg's and General Mills, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, and all the companies that they own, Nestle, whatever. I don't mean Pepsi owns Nestle. I mean Nestle as a company that owns a lot of other brands. Most of the companies out there that are big in the mainstream food space are very happy to continue to hide GMOs in their products, because they know that most consumers only purchase GMOs unintentionally. They know that if given a choice, most people don't want to buy GMOs. Most people choose to avoid them if they have that choice. So Campbell's has really done something courageous here and something worthy of a lot of admiration and congratulation by saying we're gonna support mandatory nationwide GMO labeling, and we're going to label GMOs on our own products. Now, just to be clear, Campbell's is opposed to state-by-state, what they call patchwork GMO labeling. They don't want different states to have different laws about GMO labeling. And from a production and distribution standpoint, that's understandable. You don't want to have a different label for every state in the country. But you got to understand the reason that states are passing this is because the federal government has been completely corrupted by Monsanto and the biotech industry and its shills, who include criminal felons and wife beaters and some of the most despicable slanderers that you can possibly imagine. I mean, these people are mafia operatives, and they operate like a mafia. Intimidation campaigns. They do things like they call in bomb threats at speaking locations where anti-GMO activists are about to speak. Yeah, that's the kind of thing they do. Terrorist types of activities. I think they actually even poisoned the Chipotle restaurants by dropping some E. coli into the food there and sickening people and risking lives. I think that the biotech industry engaged in bioterrorism to try to destroy Chipotle. That's the kind of thing they do. And I know this firsthand because I've been death threatened by these people. They are the most despicable people imaginable, and they run the biotech disinformation campaigns. And they get their articles published in publications like Forbes.com or the New York Times or Washington Post, which is all pro-Monsanto, pro-GMO. Forbes.com is the worst. I actually got one sleazebag editor fired from Forbes.com after he printed a bunch of completely false, totally fictional lies about me in particular. Got him fired and exposed his divorce documents, showed how he was trying to choke his wife violently in front of their daughter and all these other things. These are the kind of people that the biotech industry hires. Okay, so I mean, I just want to be clear what Campbell's is up against. You know, Campbell's Soup, you know, CEO and people, they probably didn't even have any idea just how threatening the biotech shills are going to be toward them. I wouldn't be surprised, frankly, if CEO Denise Morrison starts to get death threats from the biotech industry shills. Or, you know, goes home one day and, your cat is strung up and in a noose or something to try to send a warning message, you better not label GMO. This is the kind of thing they do. I'm not even making this up. This is the kind of thing, this is exactly what they do. You know, there's a reason why all of us are armed, by the way, why I have a concealed carry permit in the state of Texas for self-defense against these people. So when Campbell's comes out and says we're going to label GMOs and we're going to support nationwide mandatory labeling and we're going to stop participating in the GMA and its campaigns to block GMO labeling, that's a big deal. This is the company is not only staking out a position of food transparency that the rest of the industry hates. The company is also putting its own CEO and other top managers at personal risk from these biotech industry shills and their mafia, their intimidation teams who do anything, probably. I mean, we're up against, this is like Big Tobacco Part 2, where anybody who spoke out against big tobacco in the 1970s or 80s or early 90s was slandered, defamed, intimidated, threatened, maybe even shot and killed, for all we know. Some of the big tobacco scientists who were trying to blow the whistle and speak out, yeah, I bet a few of them disappeared. This was the same exact thing. So this is a big deal that Campbell's is coming out and saying, we're going to support labeling GMOs. And I just want to point all that out. I want to get all this on the record because I've never been a big supporter of Campbell's before, but with this decision, wow, this really changes my opinion of what kind of company they are. I mean, if they are going for food transparency, we got to support this company. If they're going to support GMO labeling, we need to support them. If they're going to come out and say we're not participating in the GMA campaigns and the money laundering and all the ballot measure opposition, and if they're not going to support in that stuff anymore that's trying to block GMO labeling, we need to help Campbell's succeed in the marketplace. And I know their soups aren't nutritionally perfect. They're not the organic ingredients usually that I would support. But we have to praise companies that are moving in the right direction and taking a stand. So I want to encourage you to rethink Campbell's in light of this decision. This is huge. It's not a small deal at all. This is huge. Now, of course, Campbell's, as I was saying earlier, they oppose statewide GMO labeling initiatives. They oppose that. And they want a federal labeling campaign. With the help of Campbell's, we might actually be able to achieve something at a federal level. Taiwan just banned GMOs in school lunches. Did you know that? To protect their children from the toxic effects of GMOs. Nations like Russia have banned GMO agriculture. It's being banned in more and more places like Hungary, for example. GMO imports are banned in places like Japan and I believe Korea as well. More and more countries around the world are blocking GMOs, and the U.S. is trying to use international trade agreements and what we call agricultural imperialism to shove GMOs down the throats of countries that don't want it. So this is a big global battle taking place right now with everything at stake. We, the people, want transparency. We want to be able to make a choice. We want to avoid GMOs if we can. But the GMO industry, which is, again, the most evil sector of the food industry that has ever existed in the history of civilization, they want you to be kept in the dark. They want to use their chemicals, their toxic glyphosate. It causes cancer. They want to spray that all over the crops, all over the soils, have it dumped into the rivers and streams and oceans. They want to contaminate the planet, contaminate the food supply, and keep you in the dark so that you don't even know that you're eating cancer when you eat their chemicals and their GMO foods. They don't want you to know any of that. They thrive, they profit when you eat their cancer. And the only way they can keep you eating their cancer is to block GMO labeling so that you don't have a choice and you don't have transparency. And Campbell just came out and opposed that. Campbell just said enough is enough, basically. We're going to label the GMOs and we're not going to participate in opposition to GMO labeling, and we're going to call for a federal GMO labeling standard. That's huge. That's huge. Now it's just a matter of time. Other companies are going to have to come out and follow this or get left in the dust. So the tide is turning, folks. The tipping point is here. It's beginning to tip. We, the clean food activists, are winning at every level. They can't stop us, even though they try. All right, so it's great. Share this podcast, healthrangerreport.com. Check out gmo.news and also naturalnews.com. Thanks for listening.